I mean, here's the looks pretty good. It's got Fubuki, man, and new characters, Furutaka and Kako.
Oh
Oh my
well.
god.
And yeah, and
Not gonna watch it anyway.
Oh
Doesn't
my
matter.
god, this is trying to surf off, dude.
Just look at art of them
dude,
kissing
the
each other.
movie released in 2016, man.
Alright, can we,
Aren't you? And dude, and it
No.
comes with
we've
new
talked about Kankure,
Kaijis.
dude.
No, not the movie.
Well, we kind of have an idea about what the movie's gonna be like. But
Oh
anyways,
no, you don't. Shut up. It's no one
Gonna be
knows what
bad.
the movie's gonna be about.
we watched the anime, dude. Alright. One last piece of good news, or in this case, it's good news. Before we go on, Penguin Drum design or Lily Hoshino, or who is the character designer behind Zakuro and Penguin Drum, has announced on Monday that she has gotten married. And so please wish her all congratulations upon her marriage. Pat, 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 clap.
Yeah. Yeah. Omedet. Kekon something.
Yeah. So with that, Nier, did you want to say something about something about Nintendo?
Do I? Do I really?
You want to read off this my anime list, or excuse me, my anime news network article. Nintendo comments on changes in Western localization of Fire Emblem Fates.
Dude, Nintendo has been so shit. Like, just. Especially with this. So, like, the thing that this article entails isn't the biggest deal. There was a quote unquote controversial dialogue in Fire Emblem Fates, which there was one character who, when she saw cute girls, she like lost control and she got like all silly,
like
and
heavy
she like
breathing,
yeah
whole,
like
yeah.
like oh cute girls and she's like, you know, I don't like this about me because it means I can't be like reliable on the battlefield, and you know, like there's no way I could fight a cute girl if I'm like acting like this. And as the support conversations progress, there is a dialogue where, like the A rank dialogue, which is like the final one before a romance dialogue,
Right.
the main character, the male main character, gives Soleil, which is the one who sees girls and goes all ooga booga, and
Right.
the main character slips a potion into her tea, which makes her see literally everybody as cute girls. Like,
Well, the potion thing is well.
It's an analogy for drugs.
yeah, it's clearly date rape.
Because
Clearly.
I've seen that a lot in dojins. I don't know. Well, have I seen that a lot in manga? Like some of them. Because I'm trying to think of like, because the way to defend this, I think, more solidly would be to harken back to precedents in anime and manga that people have, just gone through, and be like, well, there's been plenty of like potion scenes, but has there been some more common like potion, like people just slipping potions into like drinks and stuff like that? I'm just wondering. Like, I don't know.
Not that I really remember, but the thing is, like the main character straight up like says, "I know, I did this against like, you know, I did this like without you knowing, and I apologize for that, but I was trying to help you." And in the end, it does help her. Like, and then in the quote unquote romance thing,
Right.
Soleil says, you know, I saw everybody as girls, but you're the only one who like made my heart beat faster or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what this is, or at least what I chalked it up to be when I first heard about this, is it's like a love potion, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a love potion.
The love potion. Oh, actually, no. The love potion. I know one. One very famous example. A shaku. Excuse me. A Zero no Tsukaima. Zero no Tsukaima actually at the season 1 at the beginning of it did have a love potion kind of comedy skin. But
Yeah.
keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, but the controversy that spurred from this was a really, really, really shitty translation by some random Tumblr user who was like, "Wow, this is fucking date rape," right? Or it's like, and it's also gay conversion because she likes cute girls and you slip her a drink and now she likes the male protagonist, which is pretty bullshit because never ever does it state that she's a lesbian. Never does it state that she doesn't like men.
I
And
was
she
gonna say,
states
there's a term for that.
she
Called
states
bi.
multiple
Isn't it-
times that she does not like the fact that she gets silly around women.
I think no. So I kind of get the character. It's like this classic thing where it's just like she has the whole like heavy breathing, like this girl is so cute. I really like her cute characteristics. But then in the end, she falls for like the male protagonist. Is it that sort of personality?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
it's like a classic like harem
it's
hero
it's
kind of
basically like Kanbaru from Monogatari. Like
yeah.
she
It's not-
she states she likes girls, right? But
it's
like
not as
for the
common
whole
in
series, she's like constantly saying like, "Hey, Araragi, you want to be my boyfriend?" Like,
yeah. I think it's the first issue. I think is that those kinds of that sort of personality is not as common, or it's not as well known in the sort of I guess to Western audiences. That sort of like personality
yeah,
where it's just like because like people like know these like cool headed girl like the kudere or whatever, the tsundere stuff like that, and the une-san whatever. But this sort of more kind of like ambivalent, I guess I would say, personality, people aren't, or Western audiences aren't as familiar with, I think.
yeah,
Well, I mean, the West is pretty familiar to like the idea that like girls are more likely to comment on each other's appearance and like call each other more attractive than like a
Yeah,
dude.
but it's not like a lot of these series don't have that sort of like mean girls girl talk kind of thing. Like it's more like, wow, you're really cute or whatever, and that's kind of the brunt of it. And a lot of that is kind of a device to lead into the harem or the male female relationship or whatever. You know what I mean? A lot of them don't go into girl talk as much. But anyways, keep going. Keep going with what you were saying here.
So the conversation, according to Nintendo, is completely completely changed. They're totally rewriting it. So I don't know if she's still going to like get silly around girls. If not, then that kind of removes her main like motivator to be strong. So either A, this character is now going to be horribly written, or B, only the romance scene is just going to be generic and shitty. Which in itself isn't the biggest deal. It's not the first time it's happened in Fire Emblem. It's certainly not the first time it's happened in a Nintendo game.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, it sucks, right? Like, you know, you're not getting what was originally intended, but it's like, it's not like, oh shit, I'm not going to buy this game now.
I think there. Okay, so my opinion on this is uh, a bit more ambivalent. So there's clear precedence on what happens in this thing in the Japanese media. So the whole like, oh, if I see something, if I see object A as object B, then I'll be less afraid of it and I'll get used to it. And then there's like whole comedy scenes involving her like treating object A as object B, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And then because the male protagonist helps her with that, she falls in love with him. Uh, and then the whole like combo thing has also happened. It's more uncommon, but there is clear precedence. But now uh, the issue is kind of, how do I say this? Kind of making the Western audience cognizant of this, because it's clear that the Western audience is not cognizant of all these sort of like tropes that are very, very anime niche. You know what I mean? So I think it's I think it's ultimately innocuous because it's just like like the regular like anime kind of skit how it goes through. Like it's more like comedy kind of thing, like comedy into slight romantic flags.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess there is room to see. I don't know about the whole like gay conversion. Well, yeah, I
The
don't know about the
the
whole like
gay conversion statement is purely
yeah,
ignorance based
yeah.
on
I don't think
based
the gay
on a
conversion is
really
ignorance.
really bad translation.
Yeah, cause it's like cause it's not like cause in the end like she's a harem protagonist or like a romantic protagonist. She's not really a lesbian kind of like comedy foil.
No, like you
Uh,
can't even romance her as a female.
yeah.
So she's not really a lesbian, you know?
So I think it's I think the gay conversion thing is a bit kind of silly, just because that's just whatever. But the date rape drugging thing, I guess I can see some of that in it. I do maintain, however, there is some sort of clear precedence for it, and see, it's sort of like the issue is, it's just that this is less a problem of what's happening with anime or whatever, and more of this what happens when when this very anime trope, anime isolation, Japan isolated cultural things start mixing into the wild, mixing into like the mainstream. Like we can say like Fire Emblem, uh, stuff like Final Fantasy. What happens in these are not necessarily just going to be very confined to otakus, anime niche people. They're going to be in the wild. They're going to be done to Western audiences who have like no clue beyond like they don't even know what a tsundere is, less like recognize these like very relatively complex cultural tropes that happen. These sequences, these literary sequences that happen, and I'm not entirely sure what the solution is to resolving that thing, because as much as I do kind of understand that people will find it sensitive, I do think that if you've gone through something like being drugged or whatever, and you see something maybe like this scene, like you'll maybe be like, can we kind of not have this scene? I kind of understand. Uh, but then we also have to resolve the fact that these sequences are a valid sequence of things that happen in anime and manga that are not necessarily intended to be like, wow, there's a drug scene or whatever, but rather as a kind of romantic comedy device.
Oh my god, I get it, Spire. I get it. Nintendo's being taken over by 4Kids.
So, I mean, like, what do you guys like? Because
We're gonna have invisible guns and lollipops and
do you
I
think
think it's fucking stupid.
we're gonna have jelly donuts that look like rice balls and sandwiches that roll down hills instead
I
of
mean, you
rice
guys
balls.
understand that these misconstrued kind of notions can happen, though, right? It's like, but now
I
the prob-
understand
I
why it
get
happens.
I
I think it's
get
fucking dumb that they back down because it's like, guess what?
I mean, do you think
It's
the
a
solution?
fantasy setting, for fuck's sake.
Do you
Oh,
think the solution
crazy.
is to kind of like stick to your guns and just be like, well, this is just how it is?
yes.
But
Yeah, because it's like, I
Fire
read this is
Fire
how
Emblem
we wrote
is
it. This
a
is what it is.
Fire Emblem is a niche thing. Like still, even if Awakening like itself like revitalizes the series, like Awakening is the best-selling Fire Emblem, Awakening being the last one that came out. Like it's still a niche game on a honestly fairly niche handheld console. Like it's obviously not as niche as something like Senran Kagura, but like I don't think it's as mainstream as Nintendo really like
so, I mean, do you
thinks
think
it
okay,
is or wants it to be.
so we're
I
gonna
think
have so okay, so what my question is, okay, so you've mentioned this, at least in a couple of podcasts, but you think there should be this like differentiating scheme between, mainstream games that, should take care of these things and niche games that should really not really cater so much to to kind of aiming for the lowest denominator, I
The
guess.
thing,
But
th-
do you think
I
I mean
think
do you
in
think that
this,
sort of thing is
I think in
viable?
this case,
Yeah.
it's the fact that it's Fire Emblem. It is the game that is coming after Awakening.
Yeah, exactly.
Awakening sold so well
Yeah.
because guess what? It had stupid waifu shit in it. Fire Emblem was dying because like it's like as
Because
niche as it gets. Like it's an anime styled
I mean
it's an
there's
anime
so many other
styled
competitors out
turn-based
there too.
strategy
Yeah.
game
Yep.
with a western fantasy setting. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty fucking niche.
And there's like so many other competitors in terms of like what its mechanics offer too. So
Yeah, like
yeah.
but then like Awakening comes along and it's like, "Oh, you can marry like any of the characters." And
It's
it's
like
like
kind of what people wanted with stuff like with Valkyria Chronicles kind of. Sorry,
yeah, it's
that's
like
just
why it's like you know, if you could like fucking talk to all the Valkyria Chronicles characters after
I want
battle
life for everybody.
and like
Yeah,
just,
that's
you
the
know,
thing.
like interact with them. The character interactions is why like Awakening sold. Because like Fire Emblem before Awakening doesn't have very much character interaction. It tells its story and it's done. And honestly, the stories aren't very good. Like they're pretty generic, they're pretty flat. Like the characters aren't exactly strong. But like
Yep.
but Awakening comes along and it's so like you can talk to all these characters and you can marry all these characters and like even if the characters are literally tropes personified, like you're still interacting with these characters and you're like, you know, kind of getting attached to these characters.
It's
And
it
obviously
on
obviously you want the game that comes after that to do the same thing, right?
Hmm.
And of course it does, but it does it in a different way, sort of. By it does have the same thing as Awakening. It has, you know, all these marriage things, but it has these like it has this town thing where you can interact with them outside of support conversations. So
Right.
there's
So it's like
even
adding that sort of
there's even
reinforcement.
more like character interactions on top of the support
So
conversations.
it's adding these more like open visual novel elements. It's kind of like
Yeah, it's getting into like
visual novel. Yeah.
it's getting less into like here's a dumb fucking fantasy strategy RPG and more into like here's a strategy RPG with characters that you can interact with and deepen bonds with, you know?
Right. More persona, visual novel stuff,
Yeah.
so on. Yeah.
It's getting more into what people are calling the quote unquote dating sim like experience.
But now the question is not necessarily well this. I mean, there can still be interactions, right? But like now, these sort of interactions happen, and we can all agree that they're very anime isolated or anime niche. They're Japan niche, so on. So to resolve this sort of this cultural thing kind of opening up to the wider audience that happened because of Awakening, uh, how do we resolve this sort of like mixing of the cultures, so to say?
I don't think it opened up to a wider audience because of Awakening. I just think people who already were thinking of the game
Mhm.
were like, "Oh, okay, I'll actually buy it." Like, I don't think there was anyone out there who was like, "Wow, I've never heard of this game Fire Emblem. I'm going to give this game a shot." I think I think what Nintendo is mixing up now is the popularity of generic, stupid fucking Fire Emblem characters that they throw into Smash because of Smash's popularity. I think they're getting that mixed up with saying that Fire Emblem's popular because it's not. And I don't think there will ever be a game that includes a mechanic like that was mainstream to begin with or had the chance to be mainstream. They're getting into like the Capcom territory of thinking that like Devil May Cry is going to sell Call of Duty numbers, so we better make it like more mainstream. Like if there's a game that's going to have a mechanic that Senran Kagura has in it, that will not be a mainstream game to begin with for a Western audience.
So you think these sorts of like interactions and the romance thing that happens will by default not let it become a mainstream game, or like?
No, I just think that the types of games that have them in it will just not be a mainstream game. Like, you're never going to see a developer be like, yeah, we made Call of Duty, but now you can pet soap in between missions. Like, you're not going to see that. You're going to
Who
see like
cares
an
about
anime
soap?
game
It's
or
all about
something.
Roach.
Yeah, no, you're able to spoon with ghosts in between missions.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna see a game like that would become mainstream to begin with. And it's just like developers need to start realizing that it's like the people who want to buy your game are the audience that you should be paying attention to. Not
mean-
But the problem,
not
but
this
the issue that they're
weird
facing.
potential
It's not.
audience
It's not
you think
the.
you're gonna get.
It's not the developers though. It's the publishers.
Oh well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
But-
they need to realize that the audience that they have is the one that they
And the
need
thing
to cater
is,
to.
the thing is,
Not getting a new one.
the thing is, Nintendo's the only publisher doing this, which I've said the last time we discussed stuff like this. Like Xseed knows that people don't want their games altered with. Nintendo doesn't seem to get that. Like,
I mean, do you think so? So you think that it's this sort of like idea of trying to expand the fan base should just leave it as B, and instead they should just focus on getting 100% of the current fan base, whatever, or 100% of the current hardcore fan base.
I
whatever
think
that is.
Nintendo needs to make up its fucking mind and decide whether it wants to be a company that makes children's games or a company that appeals to quote unquote gamers.
Mhm.
Because they're making these quote unquote hardcore games, which they classify Fire Emblem as, and then they're bringing them over and then saying, "Well, we got to protect the kids." And it's like,
Okay.
make up your mind, you know?
Okay, so
Yeah.
you want them to commit one way or the other.
Yeah, like either make your fucking Mario games and stick to your fucking Mario games, or make games and keep them as a whole product. You know? Don't take shit out just because like a couple people on Twitter were like, "Ah, ick." You know?
Yeah, I think like what needs to happen is it's not like what you said before about like getting all the fans that they have now. Like, that's not to say that that game can't grow to a broader audience. Like, as anime gets bigger and broader and widens and people get more into this stuff and more
Yeah,
into
but
the game,
I mean, if they're selling the game now,
naturally
they
it
have
will
to make a decision between do we want
Yeah, but that'll
100% the
never happen. That like it'll never be an overnight transition. Like, oh, now that we took out this waifu thing from Fire Emblem,
Well, that's
we're
what
gonna
they're kind of
fucking sell
hoping
it.
for, right? It's like
Yeah,
they're
that's
trying to
never
hope,
gonna happen. They're
trying to
fucking
hope
delusional.
for some sort of like sequence of removals or modifications that'll make it more palatable to this wider audience that they're.
They're
The thing
like, they're
is, the changes they're making is turning off fans of the series.
more fans of the series that are there than you mean the people that will gather. is
Yes.
what you're saying.
I see an article pop up on Siliconera that says the petting minigame in Fire Emblem will not be in the Western version.
Blasphemy right there. That's blasphemy.
That article within an hour of being posted had 1,000 comments. The article before it had 10. Like,
and
and I went through like almost all of those comments. Pretty much like 90% of them were people going like, "Well, I'd really rather not buy a game that has less content and pay full price for it."
Right, that's the major
Yeah.
thing, I guess.
Yeah, there's
I-
what is one thing
I was
about
gonna-
It wasn't
censorship,
even
like-
the fact that like, "Oh no, I can't pet people." It was the fact that Nintendo's going, "Yeah, we're just going to take this out and you're going to pay the same price and we're not going to replace that minigame with anything."
There's one
Because
thing
that
if it's censorship,
minigame's
it's another thing if it's just complete removal of content.
like
yeah,
quote unquote localization, like name changes and a couple scenario changes, I can deal with that. Like, I'm not happy about it, but I can deal with that. If you're straight up taking like mechanics out of my game, like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do that? Why would you think you can just take that out and nobody's gonna notice? Because Nintendo hasn't made any official statement on the petting game. People have emailed them and they're like, well, we can't confirm or deny whether it's in there or not. And this game's like, what? Less than a month from coming out.
What's it called? One confirmed that it wasn't in it. At least that email confirmed it. It's
Yeah.
not like an official statement, but the Italian email I read through, and it said that they censored it. They're censoring the petting minigame and everything in some of the game and removing it to protect the kids. Like, it was literally the word, like the translation to English was to protect the children.
Think of the
it's
children.
like-
Save the children.
Yeah, it's gross.
The crazy thing is, you know that petting minigame? That takes up 25% of the cartridge space. You know how much money that is in terms of voice work and in terms of like programming? Like,
a lot.
that is a lot of content there that they're just taking out. And that petting minigame, it builds like bond with your characters, right? And in one of the routes that is touted as the quote unquote super classic hard mode route, taking out that minigame makes that shit like bullshit. Because then you're not getting supports because you can't farm battles for affection points. So it completely fucks the balance of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think the most valid point is the fact that there is less content and it's still being full price, which is unfortunate. But I mean, again, I think obviously we'll come back to this question time and time again as this sort of globalization of as anime culture happens. But I think we'll need to find this way to make sure that if we're selling niche games or we're selling some games that we want to market to a wider audience or whatever, or something that we think is going to go to a wider audience, I think publishers, at least, obviously also developers that are working with these publishers, need to find a way to resolve the issue or commit to something fully and make sure that either their audience, their niche audience that they're selling to is satisfied, or it's pleasant enough in the sort of, I guess, censored version or in the modified version, so that it appeals to a much broader audience and it does have that effect that people are hoping for, that it'll sell to this wider audience and people will be happy about it. So again, it's unfortunate, but that's kind of how Nintendo chose to cross the river, I think. But yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm sure they'll keep doing it forever.
All right.
If
So
if this affects sales negatively, and I'm pretty sure it will, then
yeah,
The thing is, this will affect sales negatively, and then Nintendo's going to be like, well, I guess there's no interest in Fire Emblem in the West. We're just not going to localize it anymore because Nintendo's fucking brain dead.
this
like,
is
It's literally Capcom all over again with like Nintendo's decision making skills.
this is like fighting games coming onto PC, right? It's just like it has shitty net play, and then
It's like, you know what it is? You remember when Metroid Other M came out?
oh,
And
God.
everybody was like, oh my god, this game is fucking disgusting, right? Because it just shat all over Metroid.
I guess everyone hates Metroid.
You remember what Nintendo said? We don't understand why everybody's upset. I guess people just aren't interested in Metroid anymore.
Yeah.
And then the next Metroid game that's gonna come out is a fucking shitty 3DS shooter. And a soccer game. Thanks,
Yeah.
Nintendo. Fucking
Because people
thanks.
don't like soccer. Never
You are
really.
so
People don't
aware
like
of your audience.
Metroid. Well, like that was the same thing with Capcom and Mega Man Legends 3 on the 3DS when that beta was coming out that they barely announced and barely put out and no one knew about. They were like, well, this handheld that's been out for a couple of months and no one's signing up for a weird backwards beta.
What?
What?
Dark
What?
Soul
Like,
cut off.
it's-
Oh god, Dark Soul is getting cut off. Wait.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. Oh god, Dark Soul. Dark
Jeez.
Soul is dead, guys. All right. He
all
is
right. Well,
back.
I cut off there. Never
All right.
mind.
Can you?
Fuck everything.
All right.
Huh?
But
Well, I mean, I could go into where did I cut off?
It was just
Mega Man
before you started
Legends,
yeah.
several months.
Yeah, okay. So like the 3DS is like a pretty damn new handheld and Capcom's like, "Here's this beta. Let's barely announce it, barely put any effort into it." No one downloads it because no one even owns a fucking 3DS yet. And then they're like, "Well, I guess no one wants Mega Man Legends 3, better cancel it." I don't understand how giant companies fail to see these super obvious issues and super obvious things that everyone's saying,
They're
and they
having.
just completely ignore it.
I think.
I mean, the
It's
case of Mega Man is a little bit different than the case of something like Fire Emblem or Metroid because
Well, yeah, but I'm saying
Mega
like, it goes
Man
back
is-
to, like the whole.
Mega Man is a case of like we didn't market this game at all and nobody like noticed the game. I guess we'll just not make the game because we're idiots. Whereas Metroid and Fire Emblem are like, well, let's hype the shit out of this game. Let's fucking ruin it in every way possible. I don't understand why everybody's mad.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's this super obvious like issue that everyone's talking about, and they're just like, "Well, I don't get it."
Yeah.
It's like, I thought I did a pretty good job.
I think yeah. I think well, people. I think people are or bigger companies are having trouble with dealing with newer social media and kind of like dealing with how to kind of send the message to an audience that is not necessarily like your standard kind of TV watching whatever audience. And the second thing is again they're having trouble distinguishing, I guess, whatever audience that they're selling to and kind of the trade-offs between oh, now we have to quote unquote go mainstream and we have to do all these things versus kind of keeping the game original intact, keeping kind of the spirit of the game intact, recognizing the difference between you know a game that intends to use its tools in very sexist or racist ways because it's made that way versus a game that could be misconstrued as sexist or racist, but the tools that they're using is very much intended for some other purpose, like advancing a comedy skit or whatever. But yeah, again, this thing is gonna come up so again and time again in our podcast later on. So for now, we'll just leave it be until we see the sales numbers for Fire Emblem Fates.
It'll sell well enough for Nintendo to not care. Is the
To
thing.
not care.
When does the new what's it called? What's that RPG that they also made the fucking change to from the Tomahawk to Cowboy?
Bravely
Because I guess
Second.
native
Bravely Second.
yeah, native
Bravely
Native
Second.
American warriors are offensive now, so
Dude,
I
but
don't-
that's also
we'll see what happens with Bravely Second as well, because I'm
Like-
sure that'll just get even worse.
the thing is like that stereotype is also made in America. That's the thing. So it's like I guess it's more strict in Japan because Japan has a very sort of interesting ignorance of history, like outside history.
Well, I
and
mean,
stuff.
at the same time, like that thing existed. Like if they had a fucking Viking class, it would be the same sort of deal. Like
Yeah, I don't know, but it's kind of weird because it's like a lot of like Viking stuff, for instance. It's not really like.
Viking class censored in Europe.
Oh my god! It turns into just like this. It's like, I don't even know what to say, but
There's also a rumor that I'm pretty sure, at least I sure as shit hope is false, but there's a rumor spreading around that the European version of Fire Emblem Fates does not have homosexual romance options.
it probably doesn't, to be honest with you.
that's yeah. I
The
mean,
way that email was worded, it probably doesn't even have that.
European
Because
Union
it did
stuff,
say a lot of dialogue was censored for the children.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but we'll see how it works. We do need to move on from this. So
Is this what we fought for?
This is both. All right. We do need to move on from this, so we'll go on to our final segment, our shoutouts and callouts. As you guys, as regular listeners of the podcast know, our shoutouts, callouts are the shoutout is one thing, person, trend, etc. that you want to compliment, talk up to, praise, shout to the skies, etc., etc., etc. Our call out is the one thing, person, nation, whatever that you want to insult, rant about, so on and so forth. Please keep your rant brief, and you may have one shout out and one call out. And I guess I'll go first this time because
What if I want to go first?
you always want to go last though.
I know.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. All right, I'll go first because Nier is a whiny little bitch whenever I pick him. So
It's because you always pick me first.
I know, man.
Like
You're always
every
so
single
important.
time.
it's just an order, whatever, bitch. um, so my shout out is actually to again, sort of the fan community, and this doesn't just mean the English translation fan community, who has done a great job in translating not only anime and manga, but also all these like light novels, web novels, visual novels recently that I've read. I really do enjoy the effort that they put in, and a lot of them, a lot of them do rival even like professional translations and stuff like that. So good work, but also the fan translate or the fan community, and the people that are making the web novels and light novels that are leading into these adaptations. I do like, uh, as much as a lot of them are very escapist, I do like some of the ones that do end up being unique and do kind of carry on without kind of falling too flat. Again, such as World Customized Creator, Konjiki no Mochi Sky, stuff like that. So much props again to the fan community at large. My call out for the week. There was. What should I say? And there was one thing I really did want to call out, but I forget what it was. So please come back to me later. Near.
Wow, this guy. My shout out goes to my mom. Cause me and my mom watched like all of we finished. Me and my mom finished Fate Zero like 3 days ago. We watched it together. It was pretty good.
What's Fate Zero, Nier?
Really, you really gonna do this?
Let's keep
We're good.
keep going.
We finished Fate Zero a couple days ago. She liked it quite a bit, except for the children killing part.
Okay.
She wasn't feeling that too well. And I bought yesterday a few Ghost in the Shell Blu-rays, and me and my mom are gonna sit down and watch those.
But there's boobies in that Near.
Yeah, there's boobies. Oh
Not
no.
boobies.
Well, guess
Can't do
what?
that.
There's no bugs and
Well,
geeks.
guess what? Dark Mom's Nier has boobies. What's your point?
She's never seen boobies. It's not true.
Her neck, her face is not allowed to move down. It's just like
True,
a thing.
she's like in a first-person game.
Yeah,
It's like in a first-person shooter. You look down and you don't see the rest of your body.
Yeah.
Not even your feet.
Oh Jesus.
Christ.
What you call out?
My call out goes to the same thing I called out last episode, Aniplex USA.
Okay.
Because I was planning on buying Your Lie in April Blu-rays so I could watch that with my mom. But it turns out that Aniplex USA they have it split into 2 Blu-rays.
Of course.
One with like 12 one with 12 episodes, one with another 12 episodes. And both of them are like $70.
I
Each.
think you're lucky that it's not
Each.
at least 4 Blu-rays, to be honest with you.
You should just fucking download the MP4 versions of them and then just rip them onto.
Yeah, that's literally what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna buy a fucking like wireless HDMI thing
Yeah.
and then just stream my torrents and stuff onto the TV. Because like,
yeah, just
like-
buy an adapter, yeah.
why would I support anime at this point?
Yeah, the problem is like people are always like, oh, this bottleneck, this bottleneck, this bottleneck, and I think the issue is not only obviously the price point, like they just need to be cognizant of the fact that there are vastly different like kind of mindsets, like mindsets in terms of buying anime and so on in Japan and buying it in the West. Um, and not only that, also kind of try to think about like other ways to kind of distribute it and kind of better ways to kind of do the business model. But keep going. Yeah.
You'd
Well,
think with all
let's-
these animes about NEETs that have no money and love anime would kind of give them a hint that people who like anime sometimes don't really have a lot of money.
You'd think that maybe this like somewhat niche product probably shouldn't be 700 times more expensive.
I mean, the
Then-
problem is like the reason why it's $700 billion is that it's niche, right? But that they need to find this balance between selling it.
The thing is, Funimation sells their Blu-rays at a totally reasonable price.
Funimation also has other revenue sources, though.
Yeah, true, but so does Aniplex. Aniplex sells figures and merchandise as well.
Which is also uppriced by about 50%.
It
I
also
mean-
doesn't help that like Funimation has does Funimation have more of the market share? I don't know how that works.
I don't think so, because Aniplex is
It seems
Aniplex is a
even.
pretty
Aniplex has a lot.
Aniplex is pretty big especially in terms of Blu-ray licensing. Like Aniplex is kind of like the name for the Blu-rays, but like I went out, like the Ghost in the Shell Blu-rays I got. They're Funimation, right? They're like
Right.
fucking. I got 3 Blu-rays for $40.
What the
3
fuck?
Blu-rays from Aniplex would cost me $200.
But is it the special edition?
Is that like
Here
one and a,
comes
is that like 1.5 figurines right there?
It's like that. The thing is, those aren't special editions from Aniplex. If I wanted 3 special editions, that would cost me close to $1,000.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
Isn't the special edition Gurren box set about $1,000 on Blu-ray?
The last Gurren box set I saw was $400.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the special,
400
the
US?
super special. Yeah, $400 US.
Okay, yeah.
So that's like
'Cause I remember
that's
I've
like
seen stuff
500
where
for me.
People are like, because people, I think the best friends are saying it was like over $600 or something when they got it in the mail.
Yeah,
So
it's fucking bonkers.
anime.
Fuck Aniplex, dude.
Well, remember, it is 2 seasons, pretty much 24. Like, Unlimited Blade Works Season 1 is 12 episodes, 300. Season
I mean,
2, 12
so
episodes,
that
also
should cost me like what?
$600.
$60 in total, not
Yeah.
$70 each.
It's also part of the reason why they're selling it so high is also it's sort of like the whole like novelty goods thing. Like people, I mean, Aniplex I think is still in this phase where it's like they kind of recognize DVD as less, or anime DVDs as less of a common sell, like with movies or whatever, and more of a kind of novelty goods like a box set. So like they're thinking, oh well, even if we sell it a bit higher, these motherfuckers are going to buy it anyways because they want to be anime or whatever. Like again, like how Clonon is selling for 50 fucking bucks, even though reasonably you'd think people would just
I
down
mean,
for the free
there
version
are
or
people who
whatever, yeah.
still think it's definitely a fantastic game and
No,
anime,
it's a
but
good game, but it's like it's not 50 bucks worth of stuff.
it's over a decade old. It's not worth $50 anymore. It's
50
not
bucks,
full
right?
price anymore.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And it's being sold less as a thing, more as a sort of a gateway, which, or at least for Clannad, which kind of works for Clannad, but definitely not for like most other things anime related. and as a novelty good, which I think is what Aniplex is banking on. So it's unfortunate.
You can't make novelty products when there's no novelty goods in them.
Yeah, unfortunate. Yeah, but anyways,
Fuck Aniplex.
Toast. Yeah, Toast. Do you wanna tell us your shout out call?
My shout out is to PSO2. Episode 4 is pretty good, even though it's basically super anime now instead of like OG PSO like episodes 1 and 3 were. It's pretty good though.
Okay, and your call out?
Like, Dark, what's your call out first?
I'm not telling you my call out. Our call outs are not gonna be the same anyway.
Is it the Spire?
No.
Then my call out is Spire for thing that he did. That thing that he did earlier that I don't want to talk about again because I'm just too
Alright, shut the fuck
disappointed
up.
in him
Roll
to
on,
talk
Dark
about it
Souls.
again.
What's your shout out?
My shout out, I guess I didn't really have much. I guess I'll just do a shout out to
What about that
Gate?
Dojin thing you're talking about?
Oh shit, yeah, you know what? Shout out to Okara for making another Railgun Dojin that I guess is coming out because I just saw the cover
really?
art for it. Okara is really good.
Yeah, Kara is a good artist.
And my call out is gonna be to Sony for multiple reasons that I described earlier of fucking ruining the entire reason of using PayPal. Yeah,
Did
also
Sony ruin
not.
Dengeki Bunko for you?
Sony ruined $30 for me because hey, I would have
I'm-
been happy to just play Dengeki Bunko regardless
I'm pretty sure
of the quality
Dengeki
of the game.
Bunko ruined Dengeki Bunko.
As
Delicious
long as
life
I
sauce.
could play the game,
Yes.
I would have been happy. The fact that I can't even play the game and there was no warning of me not being able to play the game makes me unhappy. Because why would a fucking fighting game not be compatible with something that uses a controller? I don't get it.
Dark, are you gonna? Do you have a PS4?
Yeah, I have a PS4.
Are you gonna download PSO2 on PSO4 or PS4?
No, because it's going to be in all moon runes. Why would I do that?
You've played enough PSO2 to brute force it, haven't you?
Brute force it. Yeah, I don't know about that.
No, I never want to open my Japanese PSN account anymore because I fucking go on there and it's like, hey, do you want to buy Dengeki Bunko on PS4? Which I was totally going to do.
Hey!
But the fact that I can't use PayPal would mean I'd have to pay $80 through
Some
Play
sketchy-
Asia to get it
Oh,
digitally.
that's not. Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
kosher.
In order to get the 75,000 yen, I'd have to pay over $80.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And I don't want to do that, and I really don't feel like importing it right now. Though importing it through Play Asia, I think would only wind up being like 65 or something. So
But is
Alright.
Dengeki Bunko
But I already-
worth $65?
no, not
It's not
not
worth
a
like
fucking
$5, dude.
Not an untranslated version. Certainly not to me.
Okay,
Well-
so my I guess my call out. I'm coming back to it, but it's actually to I have two call outs, but I'm going to choose one.
Oh, this guy. You know what?
No, I'm gonna
You know
choose
what?
one.
This no. Go ahead. I'll be magnanimous and let you say both.
No, okay, shut up. God damn it. Now it feels like I'm the bad guy.
Now go ahead. Say both. I mean,
Dude, I like messed up.
yeah.
Call
Go,
out.
go ahead. It's all right. It's all right.
God damn it. All
Go
right.
ahead. Say both.
All right. So I actually thought of the second one really just now, but it's the Faku thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
you mean how they went full subscription?
Yeah, they went full subscription, and I think as for a lot of you who have seen the interview I had with the founder of Faku actually on our site for PlayAnimecast.moe, where we did have a very in-depth interview about the future of Faku. I stated specifically in there that it was going to be interesting about how it's going to compete with the fan translation stuff that's out there, as well as how it's sort of going to have its end business model, as in it's going to try to sell sell its physical copies as novelty goods, and it's going to kind of be built on like the subscription thing. The issue is, I think it's being driven into a corner now because it's kind of very dependent. Again, now it's fully dependent upon its subscriptions plus novelty goods, mainly upon its subscriptions, right? And then, but the issue is the licensing the licensing stuff that Faku has now is very limited. But it can't do the free stuff anymore or it can't do the free aggregation thing anymore because it's officially licensed. You can't have like, oh, we're an officially licensed site, but we also have some pirated stuff. Sorry, guys. Like you can't cut both ways. So it's unfortunate. I do hope that Faku maybe floats up better and gets more licenses, but um, I'm not extremely optimistic about how it has chosen at that timing and with that specific model to run it in opposition, because I do think it's in opposition because people aren't going to be like, wow, or most like doujin slash like hentai readers online aren't going to be like, wow, this is from this specific hentai magazine instead of just some doujin for Comic Hit. I'm not going to read this. Like they're not going to say that. They're just going to be like, oh, this doujin or this hentai. I'm just going to read it. And if it's free, yeah, of course they're going to read it. If it takes like $5-6 plus registration plus whatever, they're going to be like, I'm just going to go on to another thing, right? So it's going to be interesting. I hope. I don't know what I hope. It's kind of weird because it's like
I hope you like vanilla, is what I hope.
I do like vanilla. Thank you very
I
much for
hope that's
noticing.
I hope that's the only thing you like if you want to get a subscription.
So I do think
I would subscribe to Faku if they had more than vanilla.
my personal opinion is that the subscription model I think is the best. The subscription simulcast thing with working with the people is one of the better models. It's not the best model because as I said in the interview, I'm afraid of this inequality thing going on. The subscription model to the magazines doesn't really help solve this issue of kind of like the doujin, the comic kit artists kind of coming to the forefront. It kind of still leaves them in the lurch. But I do think it's one of the better models, and I hope it does continue. But in the face of these aggregation sites, and even Faku, the reason why Faku was like built up was because it was a free aggregation site. So to now compete as a sort of like subscription limited site against these established free fan aggregation sites, I don't think it's gonna work very well. So, but yeah, that's my first, or that was my second call, I guess. My
I think
first,
Faku just needs to stop being fucking awful and stop taking shit down from other sites.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say like I haven't even since Faku's like changed over and everything and removed everything, like I haven't even gone there. Like
also,
I used to go there and just check stuff out and see, and now
But-
it's like I don't even care to look at it.
yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, Faku never had. Well, Faku had a convenient kind of like storage system or like bookmarks and stuff like that. But even before when it was a free aggregation site, compared to some of the other sites like Fufufu, which got shut down by fucking Koreans, and then the hentai galleries and like the EX stuff, it still wasn't as expansive as those. So
Nah,
um
gallery is what I use now.
Wait a minute, did Fire just say fucking Koreans?
because it shut down Fufufu. But
Who
anyway,
who took down Peru? And that's the real question.
I'm pretty sure Perun took down Perun.
yeah,
Hey.
Peru is not so much a hentai site so much as is the server down site. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, is the server down? Yes. Like that's like every page like I put it in. Anyways, no, what I'm actually really afraid of. Actually, I'll just make this my one call out for now because I do want to go more into depth for my call out. Just like one more thing. What I'm really afraid of for Faku, and I do think that this has a legitimate chance of occurring, is what I kind of mentioned before. I think I'm not sure if it was on this podcast or if it was in like the Skype chat with you guys, but my biggest fear is that Faku, in its attempts to legitimize itself, in its attempts to kind of expand its business model, and attempts to kind of buddy up to these Japanese publishers, is going to start knocking on the doors of the fan translation community, the other guys who are doing stuff for Comic and for these other magazines, is going to start interfering with projects that are going on, translation projects that are going on, and either do a piss poor job of continuing on, or just shut them down so that those projects aren't going on, and so people kind of are forced to turn to Faku under the name of legitimate translation or whatever. So that's what I'm afraid of. It just kind of makes me afraid because fan translation projects, the fan community is really what brought even Faku to the state in the first place. Is what brought the Western audience to this state in the first place. In terms of licensing, in terms of getting stuff, and if I see more and more of these projects being like, yeah, we're not going to continue this project because Faku took it on, and then I see like Faku like never doing other chapters, or if I see people like, yeah, Faku's doing this, or we got this call from Comic X Eros or whatever to shut this down, even if Faku's not doing maybe some of the older stuff, then I'm going to be kind of disappointed just because it's like Faku is kind of trampling upon the very sort of catalyst that drove it to this stage. So I'm kind of afraid for not only Faku's future, but also what Faku might affect. So that's my call up. Anyways,
What's your shout out again?
my shout out. I like how my shout out was to the fan community actually.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But yeah,
Can I
on
get a
that.
second shout out?
Go ahead.
Shut up.
Go ahead.
I didn't do a second call out though. So fuck you guys.
If you
Shout
got
out.
two call outs, let the man have two shout outs.
Shout out to all supporters of Donald Trump who masturbate to anime.
Oh,
I just
yeah,
want to say
that.
that don't matter in the overall
They have
course
no
of
value in the overall course of humanity.
Yo,
Shout out to
so
you
good.
guys.
Shout out to you guys. All the 4PlayerAnimecast watchers for Donald Trump supporters. We saw them.
Obviously.
Obviously, yes. Anyways, on that note,
My second shout out is to my dog for being very quiet and sleeping.
all right. On that note, thanking out Test Dog, we will. That's essentially it for episode 37 of 4Player Animecast. Again, thank you so much to the viewers here who are watching our live stream, as well as the people who are listening to the recording out there. We do this every other Saturday at 10, starting from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/4PlayerAnimecast. That's with a number 4, and we will talk about generally just all sorts of Japanese media, mainly anime, but also manga, web novel, light novels, visual novels, etc., games, etc., etc., etc. And if you do like what we do in terms of discussion, etc., 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 I do honestly believe that we do try to go for like a slightly deeper discussion than a lot of other stuff out there, but that won't be named.
Tooting your own horn there, buddy.
Hey, it's what I do believe, and that's why we're doing this podcast in the first place, right?
Really? I thought we were just talking about anime.
Yeah, I thought we were just talking about which waifu we liked best.
One
Yeah,
Punch
man.
Man saved anime. Podcast over.
Oh Jesus. Anyways, so if you do like what we do, please follow us on this Twitch channel, as well as on our social media, on our Twitter, which is 4PP Animecast with a number 4 again, and on our Facebook page, where we'll announce not only when the live stream and the podcasts are going live, but also various events that we have that we'll have going through. We do stream other things such as sidecasts and playing games, anime games, non-anime games, whatever on our streams. So please come watch. We also do have our own site at 4PlayerAnimecast.moe, where we put our podcast, put our recently updated podcast, as well as sidecasts, and we also have on text material such as interviews from various people, various contributors to the anime community. So watch out for that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, thank you so much, as usual, to the viewers and the listeners out there. And that was we'll be wrapping up for now. Again, thank you. Oh, also thank you, Dark Soul, for joining us. I know this it was pretty last minute, but still, thanks a lot for joining us.
I'm always here.
And with that, we'll be heading off as usual. See you next time.
Bye.
Hey. Fuck Aniplex.
Fuck Aniplex.